The tough customer, handling challenging client behaviors. For mental health workers, important skills, understandings, and principles related to dealing with challenging client behaviors. Sitting on the fence, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. The non-committal, equivocating, always evasive and indecisive position. Common provider mistakes involve relating to the superficial facade of the client and failing to identify the defense mechanism that's impeding progress. Now, the defense of sitting on the fence. It's a common provider mistake to also fail to help the client see that their non-committal stance is not only corrosive to their relationships outside of the mental health treatment facility, but that the 1 foot in and 1 foot out position is equally corrosive to the relationship with the provider. Why would the provider be an exception to the pervasive pattern in the client's life? Another common mistake is to not help the client see the function of this kind of a stance, to repel emotional proximity and stiff-arm real, authentic interpersonal contact. While also repressing and disavowing aggression, indecisiveness relates to conflicts around aggression because, you see, to make a decision is to kill off all other options still available prior to a decision being made. Enter Jessica. Jessica wants to leave an unhappy marriage, but never manages to actually walk away from the marriage. All of her relationships with family and friends have a superficial quality to them, which leaves Jessica feeling ultimately invisible, unknown, and depressive. No one really knows Jessica. She's hidden from view with the help of a people-pleasing facade and manufactured cheerfulness. From an early age, she was pressured to not burden her parents with her feelings and needs, but encouraged instead to try to brighten her parents' moods and generally not create any fuss or trouble for them. Jessica is with her provider, but she remains evasive, and she's not talking about the issues that initially brought her in for help. When asked about her priorities for the meeting, she doesn't announce them, but remains wishy-washy.
Do you notice that you are unclear and non-committal with me today? You don't seem eager to jump into things and get behind your own goals.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, maybe. That's not right. I'm not sure.
Notice that you equivocate. Your statement is non-committal. So that leaves us hanging in limbo, where it's just not clear what you really think and where you stand.
I guess.
Do you notice how you equivocate again? How you're even non-committal about whether or not you're non-committal? This seems to overlap with the rest of your life. You have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of your marriage. Now with me, your life hangs in limbo.
Now that you draw that parallel, sure. God, this is like my whole life.
So when you are like that, why would our therapeutic relationship go any different than your marriage? How can any relationship be satisfying and helpful for you when you remain distant and out of reach, psychologically and emotionally?
So you can see why I feel so invisible.
I can. And here, as I try to see you and what you want and what you think, the invisibility cloak comes between us, doesn't it? By virtue of you sitting on the fence, just like in your marriage, you don't go both feet in, but nor do you go both feet out and say thank you very much, goodbye. So do you see how this keeps you invisible and how our work together grinds to a screeching halt, just like your marriage and the rest of your life?
Now that Jessica clearly sees her defense and its impact on her life, she's in a far better position to make an informed choice as to what she wants to do moving forward. Also, because Jessica has a tendency to go along with people and try to please people, it will be imperative for the therapist to really check it out to see whether or not it is truly Jessica's will to let go of her defense and face her feelings and impulses instead, or if she is trying to placate the therapist, given that this is a pervasive pattern in her life. This needs to be over and over checked out. Of note, just because Jessica is beginning to turn against her defense of sitting on the fence does not mean that it will not be very hard work for her to let it go and face her feelings instead. She can expect to have to work very hard and face many very difficult things. The psychotherapist can expect to see the defense of sitting on the fence come back. But once Jessica has clearly seen the destructive effects of this defense on her life and convincingly declared that she wants to let it go and face the feelings that she's been avoiding instead, the therapist does not need to get an agreement around the need to let go of the defense every time it emerges, but can use skillful pressure and challenge to help Jessica get behind her goals in the therapeutic task, stand up to the self-defeating part of her pattern, and then do the hard work of facing the parts of herself that the defense mechanism was helping her avoid. Now, an important consideration regarding technique. The therapist will closely monitor Jessica's ability to tolerate the experience of facing the feelings and impulses that she has customarily been sweeping underneath the rug. And if Jessica becomes overly anxious in the process, the therapist modifies his technique to help Jessica build the capacity needed to face what she has been avoiding at a pace that works for her. In this kind of a situation, the therapist will not use the intervention of challenge very much, but instead rely on mild forms of pressure and encouragement to self-reflect. When Jessica can experience the feelings that she's been avoiding without becoming overly dysregulated, at that point, the therapist can lean harder on her defenses through skillful pressure and challenge, and more persistently invite Jessica to have her feelings. That will be all for now when it comes to Jessica and her major defense of sitting on the fence.